Yo, 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 yo.
What up, what up, what up?
It's Vinny Vendetta.
Jig Low.
And we'd like to welcome y'all to the second episode of Another Day.
Another fit.
Peace. Now, today we want to thank everybody that watched the pilot episode. We really appreciate y'all. And we also want to thank everybody that's back to watch the second episode with us here today. We really appreciate all of y'all. We hope everybody had a good week.
They could be anywhere in the world right now, but where they at?
They here with us, and we really appreciate that. So we hope y'all had a good week, you know what I mean? And everybody's holding it down.
You already know. Appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for real, from the bottom of our hearts.
Okay, so today, you know what I mean?
Ben, we got an extra chair here. What's that about?
Yeah, we got an extra chair because we got a special guest sliding through. You know, the special guest is pulling up on us any minute now.
Uh-oh, hold up. Somebody at the door.
That
That might be them.
Jig.
Oh.
Yo.
My main man right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good.
You know what I'm saying?
You already know. Respect.
Motherfucking FRAN SKI.
Special guest is
215.
FRAN SKI.
Yeah.
215. Peace, OG. How you
Going on?
feeling?
I'm all right, man. Just
It's good to
day
see
day
you again.
out here.
Yes,
Glad to
sir.
be 10 toes down. How's everybody doing out there?
Hold up, Fran. Before you take a seat, man, I need you to pardon your back real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just a
Oh,
metaphor. Hey.
that
Oh,
Arctic Challenge.
I don't know what it's in for.
Mm.
Okay.
You see that? Right. Yeah.
You know, life is a challenge, my man.
That's right.
You know,
Fact, though.
what's harder than life in the Arctic? One of the coldest environments in the world.
This
You
why
know,
this
so-
is gonna be a special episode.
This is
right
a metaphor of that
here. I like that.
to
I
me.
like
and
that.
and
Talk
that's
to
how I
him.
felt about it.
Well, listen. Have a
Okay.
seat.
Thank
Make
you.
yourself
Thank you.
comfortable. I'm glad that you stopped by.
Appreciate it. You know, even though this is a head visor, hey man, it's made for the elements too.
Oh,
man. You know,
man.
get this thing off, man. You
Come
know,
on, man.
Go ahead and shine up the head.
You already know, man.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the second episode
Word.
of Another Day.
Another fit.
Hey,
All right.
Cool.
So, Fran, where can they follow you on Instagram?
look, I'm at FRAN SKI 215. You know, representing Uptown Philadelphia. You know, Germantown, West Oak Lane.
Right. And
you
you'll
know,
see
East
that
Oak
in the
Lane,
you'll see that
anywhere,
on the screen.
You know, pretty much where I was born and raised, and
Okay.
you know, that's where my foundation was set.
Okay.
Okay, can you just give us a little bit of history about yourself?
Well, I'm older. I'm in my close to mid-50s. Grew up, around the Stanton, Washington Lane area, which
Uptown.
a lot of people call Uptown. But years ago, that particular section of town, if you went to one corner, you could look at West Oak Lane, you could see Germantown, and you had Mount Airy, where I was from. So it was sort of like a melting pot.
Okay.
And it was a hotbed of, haves and have-nots. We were just there barely, doing well enough to make it.
Right.
So
right.
there was a lot of class structure, among our own people,
Right.
among African Americans up there at that time.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you always knew, people were fashionable.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
a fact. That's something I always knew. Uptown was known for fashion.
Always known for fashion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Always looked a certain type of way, had to be clean. I mean, and you can
And coordinated.
coordinate.
Can't forget that.
Listen, Fran, you can go back to Joe Palmieri's, where they had their names on their pants. Dudes was wearing the name belts and so on and such.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Custom Paul Mary, Joe was a good dude. He looks like an Undertaker when you see him. But
Can you
but
tell
Joe-
them the significance of Joe Palmieri?
Well, Joe Palmieri was a independent tailor, from Uptown that made I guess in the very late 70s, early 80s, he made a particular style beltless slack, which only had a button and it had a coin pocket. And it had one back pocket, and across, he was probably one of the first major, designers that I know, as far as major to Uptown.
Right,
and
right.
Everybody wore, standard clothing.
Right.
But when you had a pair of slacks or jeans that said Joe Paul Mary on it, and he had his own symbol. This is before Jordache.
They were highly coveted.
Yeah, this is before
Right.
Gloria Vanderbilt. This was a local tailor that just set a style, and we just gravitated towards it,
Right.
and we just happened to be at the right place at the right
Right
time.
time.
And that was, a later foray into fashion, because I guess I was, 13 years old, 14.
Wow.
I was still sort of
Wow.
young.
Okay.
So it was most of the older cats that were, really rocking it and setting the tone as far as fashion. Because, this is going from the disco era, transitioning
Right.
into when hip hop first came out.
Okay.
So it was more so button fly shirts and,
Okay.
big collars and, sports jackets,
Right.
but when Joe came out with the jeans, it sort of changed everything as far as fashion, and people don't realize that Uptown in that area set a trend, starting with the introduction of hip hop right there.
Right.
It went hand in hand.
Right.
So
Okay.
so that's where that starts from.
That just taught me something.
Listen,
I just learned a lesson right there.
I do know because I come up under Fran's class. So with that being said, I know what Joe Paul Mary meant. Now that was a little right above mine, but right still in my class, dudes were still on that. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We got to go to
Yeah.
Joe Paul Mary. And Joe Paul Mary's is still there at Chew and Johnson.
Chew and
right?
Johnson.
Right on the corner
Oh.
of
Yep,
Chew and Johnson.
6400 block of
seen
Chew.
it. I know exactly
With the
what
with the
you're
white
talking about.
sign with the green letters.
And you can still
Yes.
and you can still see
Yes.
the original Joe in there, but he was always down for the neighborhood. So his master tailor in there is a black man.
Gems.
And he's been doing a lot of the designs and a lot of the tailoring for years now. But Joe can still do his thing.
Gems.
He's-
Gems.
That's-
right
If
there.
you want some Paul Mary jeans, hit me up.
Exclusive.
Y'all
man.
don't know nothing about that.
All right, Fran, let me ask you. As far back as you can remember, in regards to like your early recollection of fashion, like, can you tell us like what was it that got you into fashion? What, like, was it a particular brand? Was it someone you saw, or what was it? How did that
What about this? What is your favorite brand? Let's
we'll
start there.
there. Okay.
Well, you know what? I think I like the question James
Okay.
posed to me a little better as far
But
as
I
my, as
definitely
far as
want
my
to
introduction.
listen. I definitely want to know this question, but go ahead.
As far as my introduction was probably at the introduction of hip hop music,
Okay.
which probably we knew 78, 79. So I guess I'm about 9, 10 years old. Hip hop started. But then on top of that, you had the Space Invaders hat. If people don't
I
know
remember
about
that.
that,
I think I remember that.
it was a ski hat that looked like a cone.
Yes.
With
yes.
just a graphic of the old Atari Space Invaders across it.
Okay.
That was a fashion statement at that time.
And the
in
Zodiac sign
1980.
hats.
Playboy hats.
Playboy, yes.
People don't
I
know
remember
Playboy
these.
made sneakers.
Didn't know that.
Playboy
did
back
not
then
know
made
that at
sneakers.
all.
I remember they had sweatshirts.
Yo, I'm not gonna plug the spot right now, but as far as me, just it started early on, 5, 6 years old, because my mother and my grandmother were into fashion. They shopped at boutiques because at that time, black women, even black women with money or black people with money, still weren't accepted at major department stores.
Right.
And things,
Right.
real retail stores where they shopped at boutiques.
Okay.
So I can remember years ago going down, past Yonk Avenue with my grandmother. You know, I'm sitting there for 2 hours while she's trying on this fur.
Right.
She's trying on this wool
Exactly.
coat or this wool suit. And, you know, I was raised in the church. My people were Southern Baptists. So I went to church every Sunday. And I represented my peoples. So that's where fashion actually started.
Right.
When you go out here on the street, you represent the family.
Or at least paying attention to what you wore.
Right. Well, as
Like
far
you
as
want to look a certain way because, like you said, you're representing.
right. Okay.
the
Well,
family.
yeah. So what I just said was, hey, that was beyond my control. I'm going to wear what my parents told me.
Right.
You know, but going into high school, years later, you can fast forward,
Right.
and I'm in high school, 10th, 11th grade. Guess jeans.
Pencil
You know,
pocket.
Okay.
The original Guess.
Oh, okay,
Jeans.
okay,
The original
okay.
Guess jeans dropped. So there was one cat from G-Town, my man LeRae. You know, sorry I had to fuck you up that day, but yo, this nigga LeRae.
Shout out to
you know,
LeRae.
it was after Easter. After the Easter. It was after the Easter holiday, and you know, everybody came back. Everybody had the Guess jeans on. You know, I didn't have any.
What year was this?
This was probably 84.
Okay.
84, 80, 84, 85.
Okay.
So LeRae comes out. I had mine way before Easter. And that was just like, wow, you know.
That was saying something.
Okay, that's saying something. It wasn't nothing special. This is how I live.
Right.
Like, okay,
Right.
cool. So that caught my attention. But there was another cat, can't recall his name. He was from Winfield. I know that. And Winfield, back in those times, was known as, you know, privileged black people.
Right. Right.
And,
Okay.
you know, they were
Right,
privileged.
right,
You know, we
right.
had black Americans that had good money. And I
Right,
remember
upper middle
him
class.
every day, a different shade Oxford with a little pony on it. You know, we're wearing whatever, but every day. Oxford, belt, jeans, you know, some sort of Eastland shoes
Right.
or, you know, Docksiders or something like
Okay.
that, the preppy look. So that was really my first, you know, inoculation into it because I liked that look. I liked how clean it was. It looked classic.
Right.
And that's what really got me on my grind. You know,
Right.
as far as, you know, my, you know, interest into fashion.
Right. Right. Right.
That was it right there. Sorry I can't remember that brother's name, but he was still influential nonetheless.
That boy probably been influencing boys since the dawn of time. You know what I mean? So, would you say that they were influential in getting you to care about your appearance? You know what I mean? Because, you know, as males, as young boys, we get dirty and stuff like that. Like, we like to play around. Now, there are some exceptions to that rule, because there were some children that were, I don't want to get dirty. You know what I mean? Their mom dressed them up a certain way.
Well,
you can't get dirty.
we
had play clothes.
I
when
mean,
was younger.
well, that was the thing. You know, you just
Right.
hit the, you know, nail on the head. You know, there were play clothes, and there were clothes you went out in.
Right.
You know, I played sports all my life. I started playing baseball when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
You know, I played, you know, organized baseball all the way up until high school. I played football. I bowled. But, you know,
Right, I know what you're saying.
besides that, as far as, you know, the gear, like, yeah, you're gonna, you know, like I said, your parents say you represent this family.
Right. So you got to
You
look a
know,
certain
no
way.
matter what we had, I mean, we were on stand for a while. You know, like I said, I didn't have the best. The videos games came out, the Ataris, the
Right.
ColecoVisions, things like that. We didn't have that. You know, we went up to the neighbor's house.
Right.
You know, with their
But y'all
kids
wasn't
and
going
play.
to go out looking no any type
No,
of way.
no, not at all.
All right. So,
No.
with Vin's question, what is your favorite brand? Or, what was your first favorite brand? Because I know you don't just exclusively wear polo, even though you're polo,
Right.
you know what I mean,
Well,
heavily influenced.
Well,
but-
listen, at this point in time, yeah, I'm probably 90% Polo, you know, 90% Ralph Lauren, you know, but then that really was my first, you know, love because of, you know, my man in high school, you know, hey man, you ran us up 10, 100 meters.
This
He
the
was the
crack
man.
boy?
Yeah, he did.
All right.
But
All right,
yeah,
Crackadelphia, we giving you
right.
props.
See, but then my parents weren't buying me polo. You know, because I'm still in high school when I got down with polo.
So you was
and knew.
You was on your Mias.
No, not at that time. Not at that time.
Not at that time.
No,
but
not at that time. You know, graduated high school. You know,
When did you buy your first piece?
Actually, I didn't buy my first piece. My aunt, who's, you know, a young aunt, she was only 10 years older than me. We were always close. She bought me my first polo outfit. Wow. And I remember, you know, whenever the first year the polo scribble came out was my first real polo piece that I had, which was a burgundy rugby with the gold polo script, with the
stripes,
you know, gold stripes going across, with the burgundy pants with the scribble on the leg, and that was it. And actually, you know, I just saw her yesterday. She lives in North Carolina. Aunt Debbie, we just talked about this yesterday. You started this shit. Listen, you started
the women in your family obviously were stylish.
Yeah, my grandmother was the matriarch of the family. Okay. And then once she passed, then it was, you know, my mother.
Right.
But my father's still living, and my father and mother were together for 25 years. You know, things happen. Right. But he, you know, he's still there. You know, just got him some barbecue the other day. You know? but my dad, but when it comes to my dad, we can leave the fashion out.
My father was the same.
Right. You know, I buy his gear.
Shout out to Mr. Ski.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, so just as far as fashion and things like that, you got to realize, you know, even before that, you know, that polo. You know, I remember, you know, not going to school, going down to 52nd and Market and going to Samsung to get the navy blue original Filas when they first came out, and then going to school.
But they only had them in 3 colors at the time.
No, at the time there was only the white.
Only the white and then the blue period.
Then the blue came out.
And then the red, right?
And then the red. But once the blues came out, and this was probably like about 85, 86.
You said I slid.
You know, and slid down there and walked right out with them. You know, I stole the money to get them. You know, I apologize for that. I did it.
Listen, our past doesn't define our future, but it is our past.
And then maybe 1 year before that, freshman in high school, you know, white on white shells, you know, because like I say, you got to figure 83, you know, 82, Run DMC came out, maybe 81 going into that era, and you know, then you got the Cazelles, you know, the original Cazelles. So that goes back to when I'm in middle school. So when I go to high school, shit, I'm rocking Adidas. No, I'm not buying $50. I'm not buying. No, hell no. No. So you know. Freshman in high school, one of the seniors, I'm in the locker room getting ready for gym. He puts his shells in the locker room. I mean, in the locker. But he didn't put a lock on it. I grabbed him.
Finders keepers.
Yeah. They found out it was me.
They did?
Yeah. I was in world history. Mr. Schifrin, you know. Remember he was the teacher. Sitting in class, they come open the door. About 4 or 5 of them. See, and you know, one of them like, okay, like damn, okay.
Like, right.
But listen, this is one of the greatest things about Uptown, man. Central High School, which I went to Central High School.
Central,
okay. You listen, I was 2 blocks away from Somerville. See, I went to Ada Lewis Middle School.
SV.
Okay. You know
about
middle school with everybody from Somerville. Oh, you gonna get me? Okay, I'm gonna cut my last class. I'm gonna go to the Ville. Get my people was like,
with my folks.
Yo, y'all not going to school. We walk back. You want your sneakers? Oh no, it's good.
Right.
That's it.
My bad. You got them.
You know, so
you don't want your sneakers that bad.
Yo. So like I said, I was heavier. Right. You know, I was big bone. I wasn't fat,
Right,
But,
right,
hey,
right.
And then back then, I'm brown skin. You know, you gotta remember
Yeah,
those times,
light
man.
skin was in.
You know, shit, this is
Yeah.
before I'll be sure.
Listen,
You know,
I
like
feel
shit.
that.
You know, dark brothers didn't get any respect.
Listen, man. You know what I mean, Ben? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dark skin for the win.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then there were social clubs in Mount Airy and Germantown. People don't know about them. They call it like the Mount Airy bourgeoisie, where you have privileged black people.
I didn't even know about this.
You had privileged black people, that doctors, lawyers, that lived in West Mount Airy, certain areas. We all went to school together, but it was still a class division among blacks in our area, in West Oak Lane, and Mount Airy, and Germantown. And I wasn't accepted, so fashion was probably one of the ways that I did get accepted. You know,
right.
And what they say is, you know, the clothes don't make the man makes the clothes.
Facts.
But still, you have to have some sort of motivation.
True.
And that was my motivation. I mean, the clothes don't mean anything.
Exactly.
You know, I'm still who I am now as a grown man, but years ago, times were different. Even with, just like today, even with, you know, between our own.
Right. What you gonna say, Ben?
No, I was just respecting everything he was saying himself. Like, it was like very just eye opening everything that you was saying, because you know I'm a much younger guy, and I'm just like really appreciating everything that you breaking down for us right now. Like, I didn't know anything about Joe Palmieri. I had no clue about any of that.
Gems.
He said Playboy sneakers, like just all of these diamonds just falling out the sky. Like, I had no clue about all of these things. I just appreciate that a lot.
I mean, yeah, you got to realize that there was no Nike when I grew up. Adidas didn't come out until, hey, I must have been 10, 11 when we realized it, or maybe a little later than that. You know, you had Pro Kids.
Yeah,
You know, you had Converse. You know,
Kangaroos.
some Kangaroos later on.
Right,
Kangaroos a little later on.
Right.
Sears made sneakers.
Oh shit.
Sears and Roebuck. They had sneakers, and we would rock their sneakers.
For real?
And you got to realize there were no running shoes, really. Nobody knew about New Balance. You know, or any or anything like that. No. There were, but there are brands that
people didn't know about that.
I got to chime in on this one, because the first pair of cross trainers I ever really remember coming out was the ones by Avia that Bosworth was sponsoring. Brian Bosworth sponsored
I remember those
the
sneakers.
first pair of cross trainers, and it came out as Avias. Other than that, if you was gonna get some cross trainers, all they had was some fucking sneakers called Nautilus.
But you got to realize too that Theodora was out then when I was growing up.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
because you got to realize
They just weren't being called
kids
cross
wore
trainers.
tennis sneakers.
Tennis sneakers.
And then the New Yorkers, my peoples, the tennies. That's what they
That's
what they wore. There was no Air Maxes or anything like that. No casual sneakers. You wore tennis shoes.
Let me ask you a question. So my inception to fashion is in that mid '90s. So of course it's hip hop laced. You know what I mean? Like I said before,
Right.
Grand Poobah, whatever. In that time, like 94, 95, 96, when reversible Nautica jackets was out, Eddie Bauer jackets, starter jackets, were you still heavily polo, or did you, because Tommy Hilfiger was even getting run at this point.
Yeah.
Were you dabbling
During that time, like I said, I grew up with fashion.
Period.
Polo is my favorite.
Okay.
And that was always my priority. You know, because during that time, you're talking about, you had so many great drops.
Yeah.
You had the 92, you had the Sportsman editions, you had the button-ups, you had the Outdoorsman. Polo Sport was really a brand where Polo Sport meant what it said. We're out here for the sport. We're out here for you to tear it up.
So no cross colors, no cross.
I didn't do cross colors. Yo, I did Tommy. I had some nice Tommy pieces.
Okay.
I did Tommy, you know.
Tommy
Now I'm not going to go in chronological order.
Right.
You know, I did Jabot.
Jabot, right? I remember the
with
the straps.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
now, what we
Yeah.
call NYC, you know, You don't even know what I'm talking. Anichi.
Anichi, I remember
Okay.
Anichi.
It's
Academics.
NYC, but it's NYC.
Oh shit!
And a lot of people don't know that.
I didn't
Somebody
know
told me that a
that.
few years
Okay.
ago. I never knew it was pronounced like that.
I thought it was Anichi all the time.
But even during the time of Polo, people sleep on Gap.
Gap.
Gap?
Oh, we was wearing the Gap hoodies with the spell out
okay,
Gap.
Okay, but I'm talking about
Oh,
Gap in
oh.
1990.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, Gap. There was a Gap store. If you're from Uptown, there was a
Yes.
Gap store on Germantown Avenue,
Yes.
all the way up in
Yes.
Chestnut Hill.
But you're talking even then. That's Army and Navy days too.
Right, but then I'm talking about Benetton.
Oh
Okay.
shit.
Right.
You're talking about Benetton. You're talking about Elise.
Yeah,
you're talking
Elise.
about Sergio Tacchini.
Sergio Tacchini.
Okay, which now that everything is
City
on the
Blue
internet,
was on the rise back then.
now that everything is on the internet, everybody thinks that they're knowledgeable of these brands
Right.
and what's come up because everything is so easily accessible.
Accessible
Right,
now.
right,
Yeah,
Right, but these were things that were
Yeah, it's like
in the hood.
right,
These were things that went from New York all the way down to DC.
right.
Even as far as, people think, oh, New Balances are just a new thing. The hustlers in DC, $150 New Balances in the 80s and 90s. The New Balance 1300s and the 1500s.
Are you
Yeah.
crediting DC
With certain trends.
with New Balance being?
With
said specifically with the 1500s.
definitely with the 13s and the
And the
1500s.
13 and 1500s.
Okay.
Though that was
Shout out to
definitely
DC
a
for that.
DC thing.
And the nut ass high tech boots.
Yeah.
DC,
Oh,
the
the
DC Maryland thing.
Okay. All right.
Right. And now today, you can pay $250 for a pair of New Balance 1300s, 1500s, just as
Oh
much as
yeah, I know
yours.
that. Yeah. Right. All right. Let me ask you. What other brands do you wear besides Polo? Like what brands do you wear?
Fila.
Talk about
Okay.
Fila.
Well, Fila was part of the culture before Polo really became hot and became a trend
Shout out
among the culture.
Shout out to
to
King
King
Fee.
Low.
Yup.
Shout out to King.
Yo, what's
Philo.
up?
King Fee.
What's up, Philo?
Peace.
Stop getting your number changed, man. I try to get with you. So, and then people don't realize, even as far as in the low life culture, they're Fila low lifes.
Talk
They've
about
been
it.
there. I've hung out with them. My man King Fee, that's what they do. And they're just as recognized and just as respected as any other faction, where everybody should be respected for what they do.
Right.
And then I don't know too much
Constantly
about
clear.
it, but then I heard there's a low life faction that only wears Guess. And I heard
Really?
this from a credible source
That's fire.
that there's
Only rocking Guess.
they're low
That's
life,
fire.
but they rock
I'm gonna have to
Guess.
do some research on that. Stay tuned.
We're gonna have to get one of them guys on the show.
Definitely.
Yeah, so it was.
I'd love
like
to
I said,
get King
yeah,
Fee
yeah.
on the show.
Right. So it was about the fashion. So Fila,
Yeah.
definitely Adidas.
Adidas.
I just referenced Sergio Tacchini.
Now these brands you wear outside of the footwear, we talking about, right? Like with Adidas, you have some Adidas pieces.
Yeah, I have
Okay,
Adidas pieces.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Adidas. And then Timberland.
Timberland.
Mhm.
Right.
Like I said, I have some Timberland pieces, especially when it comes to the footwear, because like I said, that was all a part of it,
Right.
You can't have all low footwear, There's a lot of other footwear brands out here that made their
Let's
mark.
just say it. A lot of that low footwear shit's corny.
Well, see, I didn't want to.
I got some low boots on.
Listen,
there.
I'm trying to make this respectable. Now, the difference.
You still gotta be honest, though.
Okay, yeah, but it is.
We
but,
not
but
corny.
but the difference is, it depends on how you rock it. Now, because
Okay.
I like to rock, nice low pieces. I want those pieces to stand out.
See,
Okay.
I saw you coordinate, And in the sense of them sneakers being corny, one, they be doing too much with the colorways. And then that give some of these arrogant niggas with some money to spend on a shirt with 1,000 fucking colors in it.
But
you
you don't need the shoe with the same colors.
But that's what
That's what
But that's what I'm trying to say. And then you got to realize that's one thing that separates. You know, when you come to Philly, and you see a lot of cats from Philly that rock low, we'll rock all the low in the world. You know, but our footwear is always going to be. We let that stand out. Right. Then the footwear is just going to accentuate what we have on up top. So just like you said, with the black and the blue, with the Polo Arctic Challenge, you know, I'm going to rock, you know, my Midnight Racer 5 with the same color, right. You know, and that's what it is.
I had to.
Yeah, so black, black, and then you know that's how you do it.
You gotta give me a stand up one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you gotta see it.
See
the gazelle. You know what? Let's talk about this. Talk about this.
Yeah, let's go in and talk about the outfit right now.
Talk about this outfit that you got right here. And I have one more question before you get to.
Well, to be honest with you, this is the fit of disappointment. Because this is the fit of, you know, having retrospect, because these pieces, like this piece right here, can't remember when I got it, I found it, but it's the Polo Arctic Challenge.
Right.
But at that time, I was a different person. So this shirt I bought at one particular time. So you see, I'm mixing it with the pretty much recent 2022 Polo Ski. Right. I mean, which fits the theme. But if you want to realize what's going on and look over here, this is actually the Arctic Challenge t-shirt that goes with this outfit that I'm supposed to be wearing instead of this. But it's a classic XL, which in my day, you know, but it's really a 2X.
Right.
You know, and that's what goes with it. Just along with the down coat, which I can still wear. They ran small. I'm sorry, I don't want to get in. You have to, you know, oldie but goodie, got a little stains on it. Another Polo Challenge, you know, sweater, you know, and then you got the turtleneck with the Polo Sport. You have the Scully right here.
With the Arctic Challenge patch.
Arctic Challenge patch right here. You know, you got the Polo Sport on the neck. You know, you got a different, now this tag is probably a little rarer when it comes to the Arctic Challenge because it's not the standard, you know, as far as the coloration and the stitching. You know, and then right here, you know, this was the zip up rubber that we had right here, which Arctic Challenge, you know, nice striping on the back, and these were heavy materials. Back then, this Polo Sport was made to do what it was supposed to do. Just with this on, I'm starting to sweat. Right, and like I said, and then the down is, I still kept the stuff in impeccable condition, but I can't wear it. So everything is going to be interchangeable when it comes. If you have, you know, a theme. You know, this was going to be.
Let's see, you got the sportsman pants. What's the patch on them jeans?
Well, listen, and then this is. Oh, I'm glad you pointed that out, Reg, because this is a fashion faux pas or fashion low pas. We gonna change it. All right, listen,
and we discussed.
Listen, this is a patch I had to get put on here because I smoked the best chronic in the world.
Burnt the
hole right there. and then I was just like, hey, I'm just going to throw this patch on here just to, you know, salvage them, you know.
All right. So we still in this.
Yes, sir. We back after a nice little intermission.
Right.
Switch some pieces into a different slot to show y'all something a little different.
As you can see.
So
we're going to continue with the interview, and I want to ask you, Fran, what was your first inception into the low life culture?
Well, as far as being aware of the culture, I had cousins in Jamaica, Queens, New York. We used to go up there as a family during the, mid 80s, early 90s. And I had a cousin that was a DJ. Okay. And what he would do, he would take me to certain parties, after I had to beg my parents to let me go with them. And, I think this was, not really sure what part of Queens, but I know it wasn't too far from Brooklyn. Okay. And then most of those parties that we went to, the few that I went to, were in Brooklyn. And during that time, after, I'm in high school, right. All right, okay, I know about polo. And I get to these parties and I see these groups of cats walking around with, I'm thinking, oh, it's just about, the horse. You got the horse, that's right. Polo. Right. And then that's what actually changed me and made me realize, like, hey, my cousin told me, well, these guys are from this area of Brooklyn. These guys are from this area of Brooklyn. I've been to Albee Square Mall where that was on full display, but, I was a young kid. Right. Couldn't carry, but that was always influential in my mind. So, you got to fast forward like a lot of years, like we'll say, I knew, oh, it's a culture, right. But we were doing our own thing down here in Philly. Now this is late 80s, 88, 89, 89 when my aunt first bought me, that first scribble piece that right. came out that, just changed my whole mindset. Okay. And we were just doing it. This is what we would do. I worked at Plymouth Meeting Mall, for anybody that doesn't know, down here in the area. Yeah. They had a Macy's there. Yeah. And I used to work at a little pretzel stand. And we would actually, tell customers like, yo, register's broke. This is how much it costs. But we were smart enough to say, hey, with the tax, this is how much, we're going to tax you too. So we would close up shop early. We would run the Macy's just grab pieces, Right. And like I said, we weren't boosting at the time. We just loved the style. We just knew it was a thing. I didn't know how influential it was in New York at the time, but we just knew we had such a great love for it that spread all over. Right. I mean, the 19119 area, 5038, Germantown, Mount Airy, Right. And by the time I finally found out, as far as like, oh, this is a culture that's been going on in New York for years, was, my man Him Low, who was actually, one of my brother's best friends, who's a few years younger than me. We reconnected. He was, doing this thing, hustling at the stand.
Shout out to Him Low, one half of the Booze Brothers.
Yeah. Him Low was doing this thing down Germantown and Lehigh. He had a little stand. He was selling his little wares and everything. And then I think that was around the time that he met B. Bill. Okay. But he was down Beirut, where I was staying over 19th and York. I was around 16th Susquehanna, Duckery, even though we were Uptown niggas. Right. We had migrated down there because that's just the type cast we were.
That's what it was.
At the time, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And didn't know about B. Bill, never met him. So you fast forward some years later, back into the 2000s. I'm living in the area, hadn't seen Him Low in years. I'm married at the time. I'm still rocking low, living on to what I had. Saw Him Low one day, just standing outside this crib. Like, yo, what's up? Like, oh shit. Oh, I see you still rocking low, FRAN SKI. Like, yeah, well, you know, low life. This
Right,
and that.
right.
Like, okay, knew about the culture. Oh yeah, you know. He starts to educate me on what's going on and what the culture is about and what it represents. But between Himlo and Clever
Shout out
to
Clever
One.
One. Clever Low, the other
Right.
half of the Booze Brothers.
What they said was, hey, we probably wouldn't have even been in this culture if it wasn't for you.
Wow.
Because we were rocking the low so hard that without knowing about any low life culture, but just
Right.
respecting Ralph Lauren Polo, and that's what we did, and everything just sort of connected from there. So this had to been, you know, mid 2000s.
Wow.
Okay, well, we're going to a cookout. My first little cookout. I remember going. One of the first cats I met. Philo. Shout out to Philo. You always show me love, nigga. And, you know, and I'm always going to support you. After that, okay. I'm just chilling, doing my thing. Son Love. Who's this? You know?
Shout out to
Okay.
the AS.
Son Love
Shout out
always
Son
showed
Love.
Philly love.
Yeah.
Always showed the Booze Brothers love. You know? And
Definitely
got
gotta
educated.
give a shout out to Fly Spread Masters.
Yeah.
Shout out Fly
Facts.
Spread.
Right.
Masters.
Word out. That's why we shouting out Son in
Right.
the first place,
Yo,
because
yeah.
he's a bit of an inspiration for us.
Definitely an
He's an
inspiration for
inspiration.
this.
And
Definitely.
as far as that, my man Dallas Penn, you know, he's
Dallas
coming with,
Penn.
you know, I use the
Salute.
hashtag all the
Salute.
time. Outfit architecture.
Yo, Dallas Penn, accept my friend request, bro. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
I know friend, just so you know, like this is my man, Dallas.
Yeah, so once I
Good
went,
boy.
once I went to that first cookout, you know, met some cats, started going to certain events,
Right.
started meeting people from different factions that I gravitated towards. We gravitated towards each other as far as mindset, you know, and it really wasn't even all about the clothes.
Right.
It was just about the culture that we came up in and that we were, you know, not born into, that we grew up into.
Right.
And that really, you know,
Like you weren't born and you
like
were
that
sworn.
changed my whole perspective. It gave me a different outlook.
Right,
Like
right.
Philly to New York.
Fact,
You know,
bro.
because
Listen.
I have cats there
Right.
that are doing
Right.
their thing, and they reach out to me. And as far as you know, him low and that indoctrination, as far as how far the thing that I loved, as far as the clothing, the brand, how it made me feel, and there were so many positive things about it. You know, once I started going up, you know, to New York and meeting some of the original lowlifes, you know, lowlifes from different factions, lowlifes that wore fila, lowlifes that wore guests. But the bottom line is, you know, that made me feel like I was basically, you know, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be. And this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And then once that started, you know, not flamboyant. I like to
You like the shit on
look
shit
a
on
certain way, you know, and I like to represent, like I said earlier in the interview, like my family, because that goes back a long
Facts.
way.
Facts.
You know, some of us came from bricks.
Right.
And, you know, I remember times, you know, like I said, you know, you was over Beirut. I was over on Susquehanna. You know, we was on concrete floors, you know, selling nicks out the little slide windows out the basement or street level. You know, doing that and still trying to, you know, maintain.
Word.
So, you know, it's a pride thing.
Right.
You know,
right,
and
right.
it's not a money thing. It's not a materialistic thing. It's just, you know, have pride in yourself. And then the things that are going on in the culture now, I would have never seen coming 20 years ago. And there's a lot of positive things going on, a lot of positive movements. And, you know, I try to support, but also be, you know, transparent at the same time.
Right.
Because, you know, I look at people on an individual basis. as far as individual relationships.
Right.
And there's so many good things going on. You know, a lot of times I can't understand some of the other, as you could say, you know, we're going to say quote unquote intricacies of this thing.
Okay.
But it's all love.
It is what it is. It's all love and
And
loyalty.
this is what we do, you know. Like, bury me with this shit on. You know, that's real rap.
Real trap.
You know, even though I'm getting cremated. You know.
Now, hold up. I want to switch gears real quick. I want to switch gears.
What's up?
Because there is something about you. Benny,
Okay.
do you know Fran's fun fact?
Fran is a graph artist?
I think I did see. Would that be correct?
I mean, if some people want to assume that, you know, then, you know, that may or may not be true. But the fact is, I have been represented all over the city in some form of art for years.
Now, how long have you been in the graffiti culture?
Well, I think I got my first introduction in high school.
Wow.
Okay, which was probably around 83, 84, fresh into high school. You know, I went to a multicultural high school. I went to a high school where we had students from all over the city. I didn't go to a neighborhood high school.
Right.
So, you know, the person that actually, you know, put me on to graph, if you're from Philly, or even if you're not, you should know the name Braze.
Raise.
Bold Art.
Okay.
And anybody in the city of Philadelphia that writes graph knows what I'm talking about.
Raise.
He put me down about 83, 84. You know, never 100th as talented as that brother was.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
And people know, because if people know graph, they know
Right.
me.
Okay. Right.
I may have done some throw ups, you know, in my prime. You know, I've never done pieces.
But
you know,
know,
I used to just go out and bomb.
You know, you've bombed with the likes of guys like So Bad, Cat, Key, KIW, Kids in War, not Key.
I never went on route with any of those guys, even though those KIW is basically from Uptown.
Right. Kids in War, right?
You know,
If I'm
Kings in
correct.
Writing.
Kings in Writing.
Okay, so those were the guys. You know, but I came up under Raz,
Right.
Law 1.
Right.
Which was uncommon at the time because I'm an Uptown dude
Listen.
writing graffiti,
Right.
and Raz pretty much repped West Philly,
Listen,
Southwest Philly.
I went to Pennypacker. I remember when we talking back in the 80s, early 80s. I was born in 77. So I'm in Pennypacker in like 81 through probably like 85. There were two that I remember.
Shout out to Key. You always gave me props when I used to go out bombing.
K-E-E.
You remember on Ridge right below
No,
Allegheny when
no.
I hit that bridge and had that thing looking like, you know, flow art. You know, like animation out there. You know, so yeah, Raz, you know,
Satan?
never met Satan. Satan was actually just at an event I just
know a
went
couple
to.
of boys. I know
You
a
know,
couple
What
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah, I
Booski?
don't know, but my
Booski?
combo was, you know,
What'd you say?
R.I.P.
Booski,
PR Star.
Booski, yeah.
Booski, Baloo.
Okay, so
Booski was another one.
all right, but you know, it depends on, you know,
Which Booski?
which Booski are you talking
Damn.
about? Are you talking about BOO?
No,
SKI?
B-U-S-K-I.
B-U-S-K-I?
B-U.
Yo, shout out. Back in the day, Booski, we were writing, he used to mess with my man, who's a famous jazz musician right now. You know, we'll go into certain details about certain things once I get clearance. You know, one of the most famous jazz families in America, we went to school with. And writing with Booski is a master of every style graffiti that you can imagine. You know, wickeds, bogeys, throw-ups, you can do pieces. And then like a lost art was, we used to always battle on this one, was called the script style. We just wrote in a small script and used nice big accents on certain letters, and we used to always
We gotta do
through
a
it
graph
over
right.
that.
You know what I mean? Like,
You know,
we
like
gonna
I said,
have to.
but
yo.
shout out to PR Star,
PR
my main
Star.
combo, rest in peace. Shout out to NM,
Salute.
the great,
Yeah, shout out to that OG.
yo, the legend. You
Mhm.
doing your thing, you know. Like you said, you know, we go back when it comes to like graph. Graph was a part of hip hop. Hip hop was a part of, not a part, hip hop fueled culture.
Period.
So if it wouldn't have been for graph and hip hop, the culture probably wouldn't be where it is now. And I'm not just talking about low life culture. I'm
But
talking
don't forget
fashion
about
culture.
b-boy dancing too. All that was a part of it.
Right,
B-boying.
yeah. You DJ,
Yeah.
you danced, or
You
you
rap.
or you wrote graph.
Or you were. Yeah.
Yeah, and then even the rappers at that time, the rappers were just hyping it for the DJs.
Right.
Because the DJs were the main thing, you know.
Right. You're right.
You know, we're Uptown. We had Cosmic Kev, who was, you know, originally he was part of Grandmasters of Funk.
Perry P, too.
Along
Shout out
with,
Perry P.
Along with Perry P.
Oh, that's crazy.
Shout out
They used to
Mr.
do
Old Head
block
Perry
parties
P.
anywhere in the Germantown, Mount Airy, West Oak Lane area.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
that's where they
Yeah.
started, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and like I said, that's where everything started. And as far as the original question, as far as, you know, how did I get into that culture, as far as the low life culture, you know, we talked about that. But, you know, now I just feel as though, hey, you know, I get enough people that say, hey, you know, I like what you do. And everything, like I said, isn't
Respect.
about the gear,
Respect.
you know, because I like to support,
Right.
you know, everything that's going on in the culture. I love the food drives.
Right.
I
We
love
gonna
the
talk about
coke
that.
drives. You know, I love what the LRL ladies are doing.
Shout out to the LRL ladies.
Yeah, shout out to the ladies.
Salute.
You know, most doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. You know, most definitely. Shout out to RLPC.
RLPC.
You know, RLPC Philly.
Shout out
doing their
PCU.
thing.
Shout out to Bushwick Low
Bushwick.
Lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shout out to the Dress Well Cartel.
Right. Yo, shout out to my man Ice, you know, up there doing
Oh,
your thing.
Ice.
Shout out to Brick City.
Yeah.
Shout out to my man Wise Lomain.
Fact.
Yo.
Wise.
Hey,
Hold
man.
up. I want to ask you a question.
What's up, Cinder? My man Howie doing this thing. You know, he's
Salute.
always been Jay the Villain.
Jay
You know
the
what I
Villain.
mean?
Facts.
My man, Prime.
Prime.
You know, you doing your thing.
Always.
Philo. Yo. It's so many.
It's endless. Listen, we can keep going.
It
Shout
is
out
endless.
Malik Lowe.
Yo,
You know what I
Malik.
mean?
My fault, Malik. Mean
Facts.
ass Malik Lowe.
Shout out Disco.
My man.
Much
Yeah,
love and
man.
respect to the OG.
Come on, listen.
Love.
We
Facts.
we could do a whole episode about shout outs.
Yeah, so when you talk about Universal, just how we're speaking, we're all one.
Love and
Well, yo,
loyalty, bro. Real shit.
That's
real
what we
shit.
do.
Let me ask
Yeah.
you, what goes into your outfit architecture? Like, how do you determine, you know, after acquiring so many pieces over the years, right? Collections and things like that. How do you determine, like, this shirt with this denim, this shoe, like...
Well, it's more so, I like to have pieces that are versatile.
Mhm.
So you got to have pieces that are neutral, you know, as far as, you know, they can, you know, not stand out and, you know, accentuate what you have on at that time. You know, that's basically my thing. But I do have somewhat of a pattern as far as how I might lay it out.
Right, the coordination.
As far as the coordination of it. And a lot of people, well, you put this together, you know, it doesn't really take me too much thought in order to do it because it's just all about colors. Interview.
Get to,
Well-
get to that.
Well, this is just a complimentary piece because this is just a t-shirt.
Yeah.
But the main thing you want to talk about, a little cool at night, just with the shawl collar, you know, overcoat vintage. You're going to do this. Now look, now you got the t-shirt. Now,
That's
yeah.
the tag on it.
Yeah. Now you got the original there. The hat, you know, and then you can go that route. But if I wanted to just switch it up and just go brown with the brown, you know, the hat is going to match the bottom. This is going to be But listen, on a milder day, you still come out with the, 700 each.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Everything is loaded. All the utilities.
Come on, listen, you know what I mean?
Socks too.
It's the regular 20 pack of socks.
Yeah,
right here.
I'm on the same type time.
It's the regular 20 pack of socks right here.
Like, yo, when you rock Jordan, you know,
got
we all
the
that,
Jumpman
that's what we
socks
say
on.
when we say fashion. It don't have to be low.
Yes.
Coordination is key.
You want to come out with this elite gear? Watch it.
Yo, we done put today, this episode, we done put on at least 25 of y'all. You know what I mean? Somebody gonna take something away like, oh, I got this joint. I ain't never think about rocking it with this joint. Listen, you know that, you know what I mean? But more importantly, on behalf of myself and my co-host, Vinny,
My guy.
you know what I mean? We appreciate y'all. We hope y'all come back for another episode of
Another day,